The practice of operative masonry has existed from time immemorial. Its precise origin has been lost in a remote past. The seeds of the craft were perhaps first uncovered when men abandoned their dark caves and, putting hands to work, built their own rustic dwelling spaces. Likewise, when the human race arrived at a developmental stage, which allowed them to suspect that there was something beyond the material and started worshiping wooden idols. This act sowed the first seeds of our order. Once the primitive man had evolved sufficiently to commence living in groups, this also served as fertilizer and catalyst. Then came the ark, the tower, the temple, the king, Egypt, kill-winning, the moderns and the ancients. A multitude of ideas, concepts, tenets, and precepts came and went throughout all these centuries, while humanity experienced classical antiquity, dark ages, Renaissance, Reformation, scientific revolution, Baroque period, Enlightenment, Romanticism, the Realist period, among others. Yet despite the disparity of these stages, Freemasonry perdured, endured, and has prevailed. Today, when reality struggled to survive the attack from critical theory, postmodernism, wokeism, and post-truthism, where previously accepted concepts are now re-evaluated, questioned, and deconstructed, leading to levels of mass manipulation, disinformation, and misinformation, to extents the world has never experienced before, and not because traditional media was ever free of fault or guilt, but because, along with the efforts to keep society indoors and out of the streets, separating us from ourselves, the wild beast of social media was delivered and nurtured. Perhaps for these reasons, today's Freemasonry face its most festering and formidable opponents, namely indifference, mediocrity, and disinterest, which, like three ruffians, are threatening to injure and slash the craft by dwindling its growth, undermining its importance, and questioning its relevance for the modern man. Many wonder how we can, as brethren, breathe life into our institution, how to mobilize the newer generations to join us, and how to facilitate further strengthening of Freemasonry for it to continue its own journey towards the future. To achieve these goals, many strategies could be suggested, but I propose that a way to commence this resurgence is by encouraging every brother to play his role in maintaining the standards and reputation of our order, neat and intact, and by continuing to instill and permeate society with those noble principles and tenets which the craft teaches. In the end, as it was in the beginning, the reason and objective for speculative Freemasonry to exist was, is, and will always be the same: helping humanity in its search for higher purpose and complementing religion in the propagation of its noblest teachings. Some of the most ancient philosophical concepts to which Freemasonry is fierce and unapologetic defender and faithful protector we are now about to explore. Freemasonry is a progressive system of moral instruction, which is taught by utilizing analogies, symbols, and allegories. To this system, only just and upright men who believe in a supreme being and who have sound judgments and strict morals are considered to be fit and proper candidates. The moral instruction of Freemasonry refers to inculcating on its members an inclination to develop honest intentions, fair decisions, and just actions in a manner that the final result will, more often than not, be a good or positive one. Ethics or moral philosophy is the science of what is good for the human life, and towards this goal we must aim all our actions. The virtuous Mason, after he has enlightened his own mind, with sage and moral tenets is the more ready to enlighten and enlarge the understanding of others by transmitting the principles and virtues of Freemasonry pure and unsullied to his brethren and exemplifying them to the world at large through his positive thoughts, truthful words, unprejudiced actions, and graceful deeds. Virtue is the habitual and firm disposition to do good, while virtuousness, the quality of doing the right thing at the right time, in the right way, and avoiding what is wrong all the time and against all odds. According to the First Degree Catechism of Scottish Freemasonry, brethren are free and encouraged to enjoy good fellowship, but ought to be always free and away from vice. According to ancient philosophers, virtue is a manly trait of valor and excellence. Valor is required, for as recorded in Matthew 26:41, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Excellence is needed, for in Matthew 7:14 we read that straight is the gate, and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. We Masons are charged to learn to prize honor and virtue above the merely external advantages of rank and fortune, not to be excessively preoccupied by the things of this world or worldly possessions, for these things don't last. We should rather appreciate and pay close attention to the matters of the spirit by having a close relationship with the Supreme Being and to lead a clean life embracing the precepts of our faith. There is truly nothing wrong with having a desire to improve the material living conditions of one's family or enjoy the benefits of our modern civilization, but it is imperative to obtain these goods through the sweat of our brow, as Genesis 3:19 dictates, not by illicit gains or turbid dealings, also ensuring that as our finances increase and our material needs decrease, we continue to help those who are less fortunate, for it is decent to assist thy neighbor. God created us made of perishable substance, and he gave us the ego, but also deep inside of us resides a vital and immortal principle, a divine spark, which inspires a holy confidence for the faithful and obedient of the human race. Let us care, nourish, and help this godly flame to grow within us. A righteous person sees truly and judges rightly, since beautiful things appear as they truly are, only to a person of good character. This necessarily means that the vile, mean, evil, and brutal person perceives an altered and distorted reality. Therefore, his world is filled with obscurity, coldness, and falsehood as result of his own wrongdoing. This grotesque and deformed world in which a wicked person is can only begin to change through his own and voluntary intention, assisted by the light from above, the Almighty. Our ritual reminds us that all Masons ought to be characterized by having a straight and undeviating line of conduct, by the uprightness of our intentions and the rectitude of our actions. The eternal confrontation between virtues and vices was initially depicted in the 5th century AD by Aurelius Prudentius Clemens in his allegorical poem Psychomachia, or Soul War, which represented the conflict between the Christian faith against pagan idolatry. In the piece, both virtues and vices are described as women, because in Latin, words for abstract concepts have a grammatical feminine gender. The poem starts with faith striking the head of worship of the old gods or idolatry. Then chastity is assaulted by lust, but defends herself by cutting her down with a sharp instrument. Patience enrages wrath who attacks her, but unable to injure or defeat, so anger is upset and in a rush of blind frustration kills herself instead. Humility sees pride riding a horse charging towards her. The horse tumbles and pride falls into a deep pit that deceit had previously dug in the battlefield. Good works strangle avarice who had seized humanity. Sobriety plants the flag that declare the virtues victorious, restoring the courage that was taken from the other virtues by the temptation of indulgence, while good works strangle greed who has taken hold of humanity. At the end, Concord, having heard of such grand blasphemy, pins the tongue of discord with a spear, stopping her breath. The poem was extremely popular and survived by appearing in many medieval manuscripts. It is often considered among the most influential medieval allegories, the first in a long tradition. However, despite 7 virtues defeating 7 vices, they are not listed as the current 7 capital virtues and deadly sins, as in 590 AD Pope Gregory I revised and rewrote the list. Thomas Aquinas uses and defends Gregory's list in his Summa Theologica, although he calls them the capital sins because they are the head and form of all the other sins. We must recall that the distinguishing characteristics of every free and accepted Mason are those of virtue, honor, and mercy, all of which tradition informs us were practiced to elevated eminence by our ancient brethren, and should they be banished from all other societies, may we always find them secured and protected in the safe and sacred repository located in each brother's chest. The highly renowned Greek philosopher Aristotle gave us a set of qualities that are now described as the 12 Aristotelians' virtues. To his merit, he added a newer scope, in the sense that each virtue is accompanied by 2 vices, one by defect, the another by excess, giving birth to the principle that the virtue is found in the center or golden mean. Freemasonry borrows this idea to teach brethren that if we act from the center and remain circumscribed to the circle of our duty to God, a brother Mason cannot materially err. Other interpretations consider it as God at the center of its creation, the sun in the center of the universe, or even also as a reminder that if we act from the kindness, humbleness, and truthfulness of our hearts, we cannot possibly be wrong. Masonically conceptualized in our lodges as the point within the center, which is a circle flanked by 2 straight lines running from east to west, along the southern and northern sections of the meeting room. These lines have been taken as to symbolize the 2 Johns, St. John the Evangelist and St. John the Baptist, but also Moses and King Solomon, and even the summer and winter solstices. At the upper section of the circle rests the sacred writs, and from its surface springs a ladder, Jacob's ladder, esoterically teaching us that through consistent reading, deeper understanding, and daily practice of the divine tenets contained therein, we will grow spiritually closer to our Creator. This ladder has as many steps as virtues exist, but the main ones are those of faith, hope, and charity, called theological virtues, for they are bestowed to men only through divine grace, as written by St. Thomas Aquinas in his book Summa Theologiae, circa 1270. These virtues are not made known to us save by divine revelation contained in Holy Writ. As regular Masons, we have faith in the justice and overruling wisdom of God. Our hope rests in the future and salvation, and we are to display charity and loving kindness towards all men. The Mason who possesses the virtue of charity and benevolence and practices them to their most exalted sense can be justly deemed to have arrived to the summit of Freemasonry, which is an ethereal mansion by the starry firmament, a house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens and veiled from mortal eyes. A Mason's charity and benevolence should know no boundaries save that of prudence. In the Masonic meeting room, the four cardinal virtues are always present. In like manner, they should always be a feature in our lives. The term cardinal comes from the Latin cardo, meaning hinge. These four virtues are called cardinal because all other virtues fall under them and hinge upon them. They are prudence, justice, fortitude, and temperance. Plato discussed them first in his Republic, Book 4, circa 375 BCE, and were expounded by his student Aristotle in his book Nicomachean Ethics, circa 330 BCE. Prudence, also called caution or wisdom, is considered the first cardinal virtue because it concerns the perfection of our intellect. It allows us to judge what is right and what is wrong in any given situation, implying not only caution, but also the ability to judge in advance the probable consequences of our actions. Our ritual recommends us to be prudent and to have a well-regulated course of discipline in order to preserve our corporeal and mental faculties, to display the talents wherewith God has blessed us in the performing of laudable endeavors for the benefits and advancements of family, country, and fraternity. Justice can be defined as the constant and permanent determination to give everyone what is rightfully due without distinction, and it is concerned with what we owe someone else, precisely because he is not one of us. Justice demands respect for the rights of others, whether those rights are natural or legal, and should legal rights ever come into conflict with natural rights, the latter take precedence, and justice demands that they be respected. To the ancient Egyptian, Maat was the goddess of justice, and as such she was responsible to decide where to assign the souls of the dead in the afterlife. This she did by weighing the heart of the deceased against an ostrich feather, which is often located on her head. Those with a heavy heart, burdened by the weight of an unscrupulous life, were not to see paradise. For the ancient Egyptian, the soul resided in the heart. Maat also comprised ancient Egyptian concepts of truth, balance, order, harmony, law, morality. Not surprisingly, she is paired as the wife of her masculine counterpart named Thoth, the god of the moon, wisdom, knowledge, writing, hieroglyphs, science, magic, art, and judgment. Fortitude, also called courage or strength, either physical or moral, allows us to overcome fear, uncertainty, and intimidation, assisting us to remain steady in our will in the face of obstacles. Fortitude certainly does not mean foolhardiness or rashness. Putting our bodies or lives in danger when it is not necessary is not fortitude but foolishness, as the virtue lies in the middle, the so-called golden mean by Aristotle, or doctrine of the mean by Confucius. All Masons learnt this message at initiation as we first set foot in the lodge's threshold. Temperance serves prudence, justice, and fortitude, and assists us in moderating our desires in order to act rightly, give each man his due, and stand strong in the face of adversity. It is wise advice, worthy to be heard and put to practice. However, sadly, as it is, some men learn it the hard way, and few never learn it. That to live a productive life, we must be temperate, moderated, and not radical in our actions and interaction with others. Our liturgy advises the practice every domestic and public virtues, guided by prudence, chastened by temperance, supported by fortitude, and directed by justice. According to Brother Albert Pike, Freemasonry has its Decalogue, which is a law to its initiates. For the purposes of this presentation, we will only review its first and 10th. God is the eternal, omnipotent, immutable wisdom and supreme intelligence. Thou shalt adore, revere, and love him. Thou shalt honor him by practicing the virtues. Thou shalt study to know men, that thereby thou mayest learn to know thyself. Thou shalt ever seek after virtue. Thou shalt be just. Thou shalt avoid idleness. Brother Pike charges us first and foremost to develop a profound and sincere relationship with God, but also suggests that our reverence for the Almighty must be externalized, not by the recurrent, automatic, and empty repetition of words and phrases of praise, for God already sees what is in our hearts.
The kinds of offenses that come in Scripture. The word offense in the Greek is scandalon, and it refers to the bait of a trap. This is an old Texas rat trap, and I've smashed many a finger on this thing trying to show this message. And when you put the bait on this trigger, that trigger is called the scandalon. That's the offense. And if you reach for the offense to be offended because you are, an animal reaches for it to eat it, but a Christian reaches for the offense because he's hurt.
Brother Pike rather invites us to prove our adoration and faith in God by working hard and sculpting our own character, by practicing exalted qualities that not only will transform the spirit of the practitioner, but will also instill positive vibrations to his surroundings and to those persons who we meet, eventually creating a milieu which is pleasing to the Creator. To achieve this goal, we must purposefully and decisively engage in self-reflection and self-evaluation, chipping away day by day any negative or undesirable traits in our personality. As God gave us free will and freedom to choose, let us then choose to labor for personal spiritual improvement by investing our soul with qualities that are beautiful and accepted in the eyes of the Most High. Furthermore, Brother Pike emphasizes the importance of understanding humanity to better understand oneself. This introspective journey requires continuous efforts towards personal growth and self-awareness. By studying human nature, one can gain insights into one's own character and behaviors, fostering a deeper connection with oneself and others. His commandments call for a diligent pursuit of virtue, urging individuals to remain active and just in their endeavors. Avoiding idleness and striving for justice are essential components of this path, leading to a life that is not only virtuous but also harmonious and fulfilling. Eudaimonia is an ancient Greek concept that means achieving the best conditions possible for a human being to live well and prosper, but not in the sense of mere pleasure and wealth. Eudaimonia is not hedonism. It implies living a life of virtue and reason, in accordance with one's inherent purpose and potential. This is a concept that Masons ought to internalize, especially those brethren who aspire to ascend to King Solomon's throne. During the time for which a master is in charge of his lodge, he carries on his chest a reminder that all his examples and instructions must be harmonized with the principles of virtue, morality, and brotherly love. If the lodge master can achieve this correspondence effectively and successfully, then he has ensured for himself a good life as a master for the duration of his tenure, while his lodge will certainly flourish under his mandate. Aristotle saw eudaimonia as the highest goal in human life, which is best achieved by acting virtuously and rationally. This philosophy aligns seamlessly with the values espoused by Freemasonry, urging each Mason to strive towards a life of purpose and excellence, not solely for personal gain, but for the betterment of humanity as a whole. Perfectly aligned with this is the fact that every figure, emblem, or character depicted in a Masonic lodge has a moral tendency, serving to inculcate in the hearts of the fraternity the practice of virtues, which in turn will ennoble and dignify the lives of its true professors. Drawing on these ancient philosophies, tenets, and practices, Masons are encouraged to embody the principles previously expressed in their daily lives. This commitment to virtue and moral excellence serves not only as a personal guide, but also as a beacon of inspiration within the community. Through persistent and indefatigable efforts in self-improvement and the promotion of virtuous acts, the individual Mason contributes to a collective atmosphere of ethical integrity and spiritual fulfillment. Moreover, this dedication to living virtuously extends beyond the confines of the lodge. Masons are called upon to apply these principles in all aspects of their lives, fostering a spirit of fraternity and benevolence that resonates through their interactions with others. By upholding these noble ideals, each Mason plays a vital role in nurturing a harmonious and supportive environment, ultimately reflecting the divine order and beauty inherent in the teachings of Freemasonry. Thus, the pursuit of truth, relief, and brother love becomes more than a personal journey. It transforms into a communal effort that elevates the entire society. As each Mason strives to live in accordance with their highest potential and moral imperatives, they contribute to the greater good, embodying the essence of fraternitas and universal justice. In this manner, the path to veritas is paved with noble deeds and steadfast dedication to the principles of virtue, leading to a life enriched by purpose, meaning, and a profound connection to the divine. Will Freemasonry survive the lackadaisical tendencies in society at large in this 21st century? I have confidence that Freemasonry will survive, for I trust that society will not drift aimlessly to eternity. Eventually, the waters of confusion and disorder must recede, and our beloved fraternity will be awaiting for its future candidates. For now, however, amidst heavy smoke, mirror walls, and fuzzy lights, surrounded by multi-ring circuses, a distraction, and strident noise, Freemasonry remains calm, firm, and ready to embrace those who seek sincere fellowship and safe, quiet, productive gatherings. Some administrative changes perhaps are needed while we focus on the quality and not the quantity of this brotherhood of many mothers, but a single Father with many names. So mote it be.